DX Nikkor 35mm. In the old days, 35mm film cameras would often be bundled with an inexpensive but bright 50mm prime lens. Today, your typical APS-C SLR comes with an 18 to 55mm f/3.5 5.6 zoom instead. A lens that's absolutely adequate for outdoor photography, but struggles in dim light and doesn't give you the ability to blur the background behind your subject with as much aplomb as wide aperture lenses. For DX Nikon owners, the AF-S DX Nikkor 35mm f/1.8G is a modern-day equivalent of the fast 50mm prime. Its angle of view basically matches a full-frame 50mm, and the bright f/1.8 maximum aperture makes your viewfinder brighter in dim light and blurs out the background behind your subject. It's an affordable lens for owners of DX, APS-C, Nikon cameras, and a strong performer overall. The 35mm focal length is roughly equivalent to 55mm on an FX camera, and the lens therefore fits into the standard category, with an angle of view offering none of the perspective distortion associated with wide-angle or telephoto lenses. The fast f/1.8 maximum aperture emits more than 4 times as much light as the AF-S 18 to 55mm f/3.5-5.6G VRDX kit lens, which is useful for shooting in low light while keeping shutter speeds reasonably high. The silent wave motor allows autofocus on all Nikon's DSLR bodies, with the added bonus of allowing the user to tweak focus manually in AF mode if desired. Autofocus is smooth, fast, and quiet when using the optical viewfinder. It remains quiet when switching to live view, but the contrast-based focus used by Nikon SLRs for rear LCD images and videos requires a lens to hunt back and forth before locking focus. It's not a slow process, but it's less than ideal for tracking moving subjects. Stick to the viewfinder for action photography. There's no image stabilization, nor does Nikon offer any cameras with in-body stabilization at this time. It's not a huge deal for still photography, as you can get a sharp shot with the lens at speeds where subject movement is more of a concern than camera shake. But if you're thinking about the lens for a handheld video, you'll end up with shaky footage. It's best to use it with a tripod for moving images, and to reach for a lens with stabilization when hand-holding your camera. Focus is available from 11.8 inches, measured from the image sensor. It doesn't put the lens in macro territory, but with the ability to magnify subject at 1/6 life size at its closest focus distance, you can still capture small details. Just not as small as you would with a 1:2 or 1:1 macro lens. Technical testing produced some very impressive results, with every aperture, except for fully enclosed f/22 returning an MTF figure, modular transfer function, measures lens performance above the critical 0.25 cycles per pixel threshold. The curve exhibits a familiar aerofoil profile with peak sharpness being achieved between f/4 and f/8 at a level around 0.33 cycles per pixel. There was some color fringing visible on the high contrast test target, and this was echoed to a very slight degree in real-world photographs, but not enough to undermine overall image quality. In addition, Nikon's 35mm DX prime records unobscurative out-of-focus areas almost certainly on account of its curved diaphragm blades. Given how well this lens performs and how pleasing it feels in the hand, the only shame is that it's compatible only with DX APS-C Nikon bodies. Were it otherwise, however, the price would doubtlessly be higher and would penalize potential buyers for whom the DX format meets their every need. The Nikon AF-S DX Nikkor M35 f/1.8G is a lens that has been around for a while, but it's still a very strong performer, especially when you consider its price point. It's a fine choice for Nikon DX owners who want a bright, standard angle lens for general purpose imaging, low light photography, and shots on a very shallow depth of field.